Welcome to the Darkstream. I'm Vox Day, and tonight I want to talk about the scars we can't escape. Thanks for tuning in. Been a busy day today. Didn't have much time for writing. Didn't have much time for really getting much productive done. But it was a good day. And as somebody noted already, the image on the screen here is an image of a bridge in Minneapolis. And it is lit up purple to honor and celebrate Prince, who is probably the most famous hometown boy from Minneapolis. And the reason that I was thinking about this tonight was Space Bunny and I happened to watch a documentary on Prince, and it was interesting. Because we were both in the orbit of Minneapolis around the time that Prince was so massively big in Minneapolis. It's a pretty significant, I guess you would just say, element in our lives. It's something that we happen to share from our backgrounds. So anyhow, Cool says Prince is highly, highly overrated. Not at all. If you think Prince is overrated, you don't know anything about music. I mean, literally nothing about music. What a lot of you may not realize is that in addition to being from Minneapolis, I was also involved in the music industry. Those are not Masonic floor tiles, my goodness. Anyhow, they're not even tiles for one thing. But this is, of course, First Avenue. I've played at First Avenue. I've attended shows at First Avenue. And, the thing that a lot of people don't realize is the extent to which the people of Minneapolis loved Prince, and the extent to which Prince loved Minneapolis. It was an unusual sort of, you could almost call it a love affair between a individual and a city. And I knew that. We all knew that. But what I didn't know before watching this particular documentary is the reason for it. I never understood the reason for it. And I think Space Bunny and I have watched 3 different post-mortem documentaries about Prince. And like I said, it was something that was a major influence on us during our formative years, junior high, high school, that sort of thing. But it was more than that. It was a lot more than that. And that's why I called it the scars we can't escape. The way that we're affected in our childhood and in our youth tends to leave scars on us that shape us. It shapes our influence. It shapes our perceptions. It shapes our reactions. And I'm as susceptible to that as anybody. You know, I see it in some of my friends. I see it in some of my my peers. But, you know, one thing that I noticed, or that not just that I noticed, but that I knew, is that everybody had this respect and affection for Prince. I met him 5 or 6 times, usually at a club called the Perimeter. It was owned by some friends of mine. I was one of the VIPs there just because I was friends with the owners. And it was really interesting how nobody ever bothered him, talked to him, intruded upon him. It was really funny. You know, people used to ask me frequently when I was at school out east, have you ever met Prince? Do you know Prince? All this sort of thing. You know, because he was the only thing they knew about Minneapolis. And it was kind of funny because a girlfriend of mine came out to visit briefly one winter, and you know, she really, really wanted to see if you know, she could catch a Prince show or something. And I said, well, I don't think he's playing anywhere. I haven't heard that he's, you know, got any plans to play. And so we went out. I said, well, you know, we'll go to Glam Slam later. That's the club he owns. Maybe he'll be around. But it was funny because he wasn't there, so we went to the usual club, which, like I said, was called the Perimeter. And she literally walked into him, like literally on the dance floor, because she was walking past, and somebody just turned around and walked right into her. And it was, she was just dumbfounded. Like, he hangs out, like, it's not even like in the VIP section or anything. I said, no, he's just hangs out. You know, people don't bother him. There's a good female friend of mine that he took a liking to. In fact, I was actually with her when we met. And the funny thing was, he'd actually called me over to talk to him because his first concern was, he's like, is that your girlfriend? And I said, no, she's just a friend of mine. He said, is she dating anyone? I said, no. And he said, okay, great. We talked a little bit more. And anyhow, they never ended up dating, but he used to call her up at, bizarre times just to talk, because he was a really lonely person. And that was something that this documentary tonight really made very clear. And the thing that also became clear that I knew a bit about, but I didn't realize, was that, the guy got essentially kicked out of his home. His parents divorced when he was 10, and he got kicked out of his home, his father's house, when he was 12. And so he didn't have, the kind of love in his life that a lot of us do. And I think that that's where the love affair with the city, to a certain extent, ended up replacing, or it was something that partially, incompletely filled that hole in his life. And, it was interesting because you're like, well, okay, fine, all the fans loved him and that sort of thing. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just the fans. people who never listened to him, never, never got into the music and stuff, had no interest in the music and stuff, still really loved him because he was such a hometown boy. Prince's actual name was Prince. Prince Rogers Nelson is his real name. And, and the thing is, Minneapolis has, like all smaller cities, a major inferiority complex, a serious inferiority complex. We saw that when my band was signed to Wax Trax and TVT Records. It was really funny. Here we're playing at First Avenue, we're playing at 7th Street Entry. All of our shows are going, amazingly well. I mean, I'm not going to say we owned the main stage at First Avenue like Prince did. Nobody did. Absolutely nobody did. But we did really blow the doors off the place that night we played there. People were absolutely shocked. They had no idea what to expect. And then all of a sudden, Psychosonic hits them with this 135 BPM, techno industrial dance music. They loved it. They absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. I did not purify myself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka, but I have certainly attended the Sun Gods party at Lake Minnetonka. In fact, Space Bunny actually lived in Minnetonka. So, but the level of influence that permeated the city and the music scene. For example, Paul Sebastian, the co-founder of my band with me, he recorded a single with Bobby Z, who was the drummer in The Revolution. The guy who produced the Diamond and Pearls CD was involved with us in a project called The Power of Seven, which some of you will have heard of because it provided the music for some of the early Bungie stuff like Marathon. And so, so the thing is that, there was this whole sort of community aspect to the relationship that was, I think, very different than you see in a larger city. And what was funny was that it's fun. Yeah. Okay, Abel, I'm going to demonstrate to you that you're wrong. You can't say whatever you want. You're banned. So, see, I'm not quite as ban happy as Owen might be because I have a lot fewer people watching, but I'm just not interested in people who are attempting to hijack the mic. If you're not interested in what I'm talking about now, that's fine. But, I'm not here to listen to read your comments, trying to change the topic of conversation. If you're not interested in talking about Minneapolis and Prince and the music scene and the relationship between those things, that's fine. Minneapolis is a small city, and if you're not interested, you're not interested. The millennials are like, when did this all take place? We're talking about, the explosion of the musical scene in Minneapolis that revolved around Prince, but also involved Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who were behind Janet Jackson. And they created that whole Minneapolis sound, the very thick drum, rhythm heavy sound that you're used to. You know, it all began in the early 80s, and 84 to 86 was really when that was at its peak. But the influence remained because he started his own nightclub called Glam Slam around 1990, 1991, and there was a lot of spin-offs and subgroups and influences from various people. And my favorite story about Raccoon, you're banned. You don't tell me what to do. Never ban anyone, even if they talk shit. Yeah, you know what? You're banned. Here's what you don't do. You never tell anyone what to do with their own channel. So, I'm just not at all interested in having anybody try to tell me what they can do. Yeah, and Matt, you're sodomy. You're weak from sodomy. You're talking about it constantly. You know what that means? It means it's of way too much interest to you. So, you're banned too. Anyhow, somebody said, was Prince religious? Yeah, he was. He was extremely religious. I mean, one of the things that people were very much amused by in the Eden Prairie, Chanhassen region was that he was a serious Jehovah's Witness in his later years, and he used to go door to door, and people would talk about how they were shocked when they'd get a knock on the door, and they'd open it up, and there's Prince, and he'd say, can I come in and my name's Prince Nelson. Can I come in and talk to you? Like, come on in. Can I get you something to drink? And so, it was, Shrubbery Salesman says, who plays bass better, you or Prince? Prince, being over a year dead in his grave is a better bass player than I am. The thing that was interesting was that Tyrone says Soul Asylum sucked. We actually recorded our first Psychosonic album at the same studio that Soul Asylum did. We recorded our second one at Paisley Park. Jeff P. says, hey, Vox, do you write screenplays and or have you considered turning one of your fictional works into a film? Funny you should say that. All I can say is that if you have $1,000, save it. You're going to want to, there's a very good chance you're going to want to take part in a large-scale project reasonably soon. Ryan says, Vox, you got a favorite Prince song? For me, it's When Doves Cry. When Doves Cry is an amazing song. My favorite song of his is probably Little Red Corvette. That's probably my favorite one that he actually recorded. The thing that's funny is that somebody's saying, well, was he really that good a musician, and so forth. There's a true story that is told by one of his musicians. I think it was one of his keyboardists, and at the guy's first rehearsal, and his rehearsals would go on for 10 hours. I mean, it was insane. And I heard that from everybody who played with him. From Bobby Z on. But the amazing thing, all right, we're going to get rid of Sean Spence here. He keeps going on about Somalis. I don't care about Somalis, dude. I mean, I'd rather they weren't in Minneapolis, but I really am not interested in you deciding that my stream is a good place to talk about Somalis. So, you're banned. I wish I had like some sort of, you know what? I'm gonna write to. I'm a Streamlabs all-star, just so you know, and I'm going to write to Streamlabs because I want some sort of kaboom effect every time somebody gets banned. So, Chris Scheuer says, will we still have groundbreaking music in the future, or have we hit a wall? I feel like we will never have acts like Queen, Sabbath, and others again. We will have, there's great music being produced. There's fantastic music being produced. The music being produced by Japanese girls, the rock being produced by Japanese girls is astonishing. But they are, the record companies are dead. The record companies are, you know, they're all caught up in hip hop and rap and musical dead ends. It's either Iamblicus2 or Lamblicus2 says, off topic, Vox, when are you going to grow a beard or at least a goatee? I will make a substantial donation if this happens. My guess is never, because Space Bunny does not like beards, goatees, and that sort of thing. Neither do I. I had a goatee once for about a week, and it made me look like I was in maximum security. So it was not good. Adam Smith is right. Modern mainstream music is terrible. You really have to go digging for good stuff these days. And here's the thing, to take it back to Prince. Prince was a major player in that. He was the first, hugely successful musician, the first musical star to fight the record companies. And people don't give him anywhere nearly enough credit for that. Because he valued the music first. Warner Brothers couldn't understand what he was doing. They even said, he's going to have to tour the rest of his life just to pay this off. And he was more than willing to do that, because that was what he lived for. And to finish the story I was telling, the first day that his keyboardist was, practicing for the show, Prince noticed that he wasn't taking any notes. And so he went over and said, "Are you a musical genius?" And the guy said, "No, Prince." And he said, "Well, I am. That's why I don't need to take notes, because I just remember all this stuff. But if you're not a musical genius, you should probably write this stuff down." He said, "Sure enough." They used to play the same show, but in a different order every single night. He'd come back to Minneapolis, play 7 major shows, sold out, and play different songs every single night. I can't even imagine trying to play in a band like that. Trying to keep up with the guy, would have been grueling. I really wasn't surprised that he didn't make it to old age, just because the way that he lived, and I'm not talking about like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I'm talking about the way that he would go on tour, play a show, then go to a club, play a private show at a club for free. And then sometimes if he was in Minneapolis, he would do that. And then he would go back to Paisley Park and play a private show there. The guy literally never stopped, barely slept. I've never even heard of anyone who works that hard. And if you notice the way that, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, Vox, you work really hard," and that sort of stuff. In some ways, he is a role model in that way, which is that maybe you can't be, okay, he was better than everybody else, but, maybe I can't be better than other writers. Maybe I can't be better than other YouTubers. Maybe I can't be better than other comic writers. But I can make sure that nobody outworks me. I can make sure that whether I'm in the mood, like tonight, I didn't really have anything pressing to talk about, but I was going to do a Darkstream. I knew I was going to come here and talk to you guys tonight because that's what you guys want. There's 700 people here on a Saturday night. Why? Because for whatever reason, for whatever motivation, you would like to come and listen to a stream. And so that's why I try to do a stream every single night, just like I try to do 4 blog posts a day, no matter what. And so Ejector Seat Reservation says, the best band from Minnesota is the Replacements. Yeah, the Replacements were the very first concert I ever went to. I went to the Kaufman Union at University of Minnesota in 10th grade and saw Limited Warranty warming up for the Replacements. And to be honest, I actually preferred Limited Warranty. To be honest, I kind of still prefer Limited Warranty, which is kind of ridiculous and would be horrendously embarrassing, I'm sure. But it is what it is. Your preferences are what they are. And there were so many good bands around then, Halo, which was kind of Psychosonic's brother band. Our late manager's younger brother was the manager of both our band and Halo. Halo was kind of like a very Depeche Mode sounding band. They were really good. Husker Du, obviously. The Suburbs. There was even a band from my high school. There was a guy, he was Paul Franzik. He was like kind of my idol when I was in high school. He was on this varsity soccer team that went to state. He was the state downhill ski champion, and he was the guitarist in a band called A Few. And I'm always a little sorry that I never, that we were friendly, but I was younger than him, and I was never in touch with him. So I would have liked to have sent him a Psychosonic CD. I hope at some point in time, somewhere, he heard about that. Yeah, Meat Beat Manifesto. Those are our old label mates at Wax Trax. Some of them are pretty good. Some of their songs are pretty good. I'm not a big Squeeze fan. Ganji Blob Flanka says Prince was a pioneer at talking to the press. Oh, exactly. I hadn't even thought about that. Although my favorite was still that when he did that interview, and he did the interview where he refused to talk to the press at a live interview. And so he would talk to Métis, and then Métis would answer for him. That was hilarious. I enjoyed that. I'm not sure that's good. I'm in the same time zone as you, Vox. Your streams put me to sleep. Well, I'm, as long as you enjoy it somehow. Did you ever play Ministry? Do you mean Ministry of Sound or something in London? No. If you mean Ministry, the band that was on Wax Trax, I mean, obviously I know who they are. Paul actually came in to the Chicago Track studio when we were remixing the singles, Silicon Jesus and Welcome to My Mind. That was pretty cool. And we saw Ministry play at Lollapalooza. We were supposed to be playing on the second stage, but Paul got lost. So we're like the only band that ever blew off Lollapalooza. So that was pretty funny. Let's see. Have you heard music from Tarja? No, I have not. A mind is a terrible thing to taste. Let's not forget that. It was kind of funny. I remember we were driving up to a lake cabin with a friend of mine who'd never heard Ministry before, and Psalm 69 had just come out, and we listened to it, and it took about as long to get there as it did to get through it. And this guy was one of the dragons. He was a pretty hardcore martial artist, and he looked at me and said, "I've literally taken physical beatings that hurt less than listening to that the whole way." So that was pretty amusing. Apparently the latency is better. Yeah, we've been working on fixing that. Yeah. Are you aware that almost all 90s hits were written by Prince? That's a bit of an exaggeration, but he did obviously write the stuff for Sheila E. and for the Bangles and for Sinead O'Connor. A lot of people don't realize that the first version of Nothing Compares to You by The Family is, in my opinion, better than the Sinead O'Connor version. I was a little confused, actually, coming from Minneapolis the way that I did. And the guy from The Family was actually reputed to be the best bass player in Minneapolis at the time. It was a bit surprising when that song came out. I was in college, and I was like, that's not a new song. Like, what is that? And who is this Sinead, whatever? So, yeah, that Jesus Built My Hot Rod, that is the song. In fact, Jesus Built My Hot Rod was a heavy influence on our song Crank Freak, because I was into it, and I played it for Paul, and he was just blown away by it. In fact, I don't know, I didn't play it for Paul. We actually heard it at First Avenue one night when we went out, and he was just staring at the speakers like, what is this sound that is coming out and physically assaulting us? And the next day he called me up. He's like, come over, you got to hear this riff. And it was that, ah, wow, 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 dun, 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 with the Slayer sample. So that was pretty good. 1A says, I listened to Chemical Brothers and Prodigy CDs probably tens of thousands of times as a 90s child. You should check out our original Psychosonic stuff. I mean, I think you'll like it. It's, it's good stuff. I'm quite proud of having been involved with that. In fact, Paul just sent me an email 2 days ago, a picture of the four of us. Dan is a big soundtrack guy out in Hollywood now. Paul's this, he's involved in some startup as an executive, and Mike is actually the audio director for Epic Mega Games. So I'm like the least successful out of the whole band. But I would love it if at some point in time we'd get together and record at least one song or something, just for kicks. But Vox, any idea why North Europe produces so much wallow noise metal? It's because they're not very melodically strong. They don't do either melody or rhythm terribly well, and that's the problem. One step too far says Psychosonic influenced some of my music before I ever knew who you were. Well, here, let me. Do you guys want to hear something? Do you want? If you want, I will play you one of our demo. I'll play you part of one of our demo tracks. Virtually no one has outside of Minneapolis has ever heard this because it wasn't on any of our albums. We only played it I think we played it at 7th Street Entry. We played it at First Avenue, and that was probably it. I played keyboards mostly. I played bass once or twice. Okay, let me see if this works. I've never tried to play a MPEG. I'm going to have to put this on if I'm going to hear anything. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll try. Okay, so this is, if I can find it. Okay, why can't I find it there? I'm trying to figure out where I put it. So I definitely have it somewhere, but I don't necessarily know where. Yeah, of course, you would think that I would put it in the, all right, we're going to just put this here. Let me see if this plays or not. I guess, no, it doesn't look like, equal file, maybe I have to add it a different way. Oh, you can hear it. Okay, I just nuked it. For some reason, I can't hear it. I don't know why. My desktop audio. Okay. All right. Let me put this back on again. Sorry about that. Okay. See, I can't even see a graphic of it playing. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it up so that at least I can hear roughly when it's going to end, because you guys are a little bit delayed too. So this is a song that Paul and I did together. It was the second, no. It was, I think, the second song we ever did. It's called Cosmic Trigger. And yeah, my headphones, it just doesn't, for some reason, I can't hear it when it's playing through through this, but I can start it at the same time, more or less, and we'll be roughly in sync. So let me, okay, I'm going to, okay, so I'm going to start it here. Again, this is called Cosmic Trigger, and this is just this is our demo tape. This is one of our demos that got us signed with Wax Trax. So very, very early demo Psychosonic Cosmic Trigger. Okay, so anyhow, that is early stuff. Also, you whiners who are going, oh, Copyright strike, copyright strike. There isn't going to be any copyright strike. I'm one of 2 people with that recording. No, Alpha, you're going to get banned because I do not put up with that kind of bullshit. You keep trying to say that. I have the feeling that you're going to be running around trying to where is this? Yeah, I'm not putting up with that kind of stuff. Okay. No, we're not going to get any sort of copyright strike because A, I wrote the song. B, we never signed that to Wax Tracks or TVT. It's never been recorded. That's literally the demo recording that was done at Paul's apartment. I don't know if Paul even has that. You know, I know Mike and I do. So anyhow, yeah, I'll have to see. I'll have to see if we can, you know, get it onto YouTube at something. It'd actually be fun to it'd actually be fun to update that a bit. But you know, obviously the drums are so you know, 808 Alesis 808's 8 style. It wasn't actually, I don't think that was actually an Alesis 808, but it was a pretty early drum machine at the time. So no, I mean, I would never publish it without Paul's permission. And Paul would never complain about that either. I mean, we're both quite proud of the time that we spent working on music together. I mean, we were actually just, like I said, we were just exchanging email 2 days ago talking about how we miss working with each other. Might have been a 909. Might have been a 909. But anyhow, so that's what we were doing in the early 90s, you know? Just in the late 80s, I was in a different band called No Boys with a couple friends. And, you know, now, I mean, the thing is, the music tools that they have now are so incredible. They're just astonishing. No, the problem is that the girl is awesome. That's actually our keyboardist Dan's girlfriend before they were dating. Her name was Giselle, and she was just a friend of ours. And we're like, okay, you know, say these things. And she just had such a perfect voice for that. It was absolutely awesome. I was really surprised that, you know, I was really surprised that we didn't put that on or decide to record that for the original album. But I think it was partly because of the Mighty Mouse samples or something. There was some concern about whether that was something that we could do. We recorded it in early 1992. And so, I have her do the next audiobook. I haven't seen or heard anything about Giselle since like 1994. So, you know, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I wish we had actually stayed more on that track, because that was always what I wanted to do. I always liked the faster paced stuff with a little bit of you know, guitar and stuff mixed in. I liked the whole concept of techno metal. That was what I wanted to do. But Dan was a talented songwriter, a music writer, and so he kind of tended to dominate the band more and more, and sort of pushed my influence back more and more. You can still hear a little bit of my influence, even on the second album, which I'm not officially credited for. But Mike and I were both definitely involved. I mean, you know, and anyone who knows me knows perfectly well where Oversea Under Stone came from. You know, it's from if you notice, a number of our songs were from the books that I was reading or books that I liked. You know, Cosmic Trigger was, of course, based on the Robert Anton Wilson book. Oversea Under Stone was based on the Susan Cooper book. Our synths were always digital. Yeah, I think the oldest synth that we used was an Ensoniq ESQ1, which was mine. We did all of that stuff with Ensoniq samplers. I think the ESQ1 was the synth, and then there was that first keyboard that had like the ability. It had like 2 megs of memory, plus you could use those 1.44 inch hard floppy disks, and so you know, all this stuff was done on that. And so now, you know, what's amazing is that the tools are so good now, and yet people are doing so little interesting stuff with it. And that's kind of annoying to me. But, you know, my son has gotten into music, and he's doing some interesting stuff. And so it's kind of fun. Black Eagle says, Saturday night, no money because of goddamn banks yet. I have a comfy Darkstream with friends of relative IQ. Thank you all for keeping us lonely Anons company. Well, I'm glad you got something to do, that you can come and hang out with us. Yeah, this kind of tangented a bit because, you know, what I was going to talk about more was the scars we can't escape. And, you know, the music for me, the psychosonic and that for me was not a scar by any stretch of the imagination. It was great. And I also think that it was good because I learned to not take the whole fame thing at all seriously. It was really interesting. We played the show at Glam Slam, and there was this very pretty girl who, you know, had thrown herself at me. And I wasn't interested at the time. I was more interested in one of the dancers who was on stage there. But what was funny was that the very next day, I was at Rosedale, the big shopping mall, and that same girl was walking by. You know, what are the odds? I mean, it's not a very big city. But what was funny was that I said hello to her, and she looked at me like I was some kind of insect. And I just threw back my head and laughed. And my friend said, What are you laughing about? And I said, that's the girl who was throwing herself at me last night. He's like, the one who just like completely shot you down? I said, yes. I said, that's called the difference context makes. And it helped me understand on a deep and instinctual level not to internalize rejection, especially on a casual level, because the perception is so important. You know, your perception of me is going to be different if I have 500,000 subscribers versus the 17,000 I have, right? I'm still the same person. Maybe it would affect me. But I don't think so, because of the experience that I've had with these details, or with these kinds of experiences. You know, you just can't take it too seriously. And so, you know, so it's like, I know a lot of you, you know, somebody asked earlier, you know, can I talk to, who do I talk to here to get unbanned from Owen's channel? No one. the person you have to talk to is Owen. And if Owen banned you, he did it for a reason. I mean, I banned 4 people tonight because they were being obnoxious in different ways. It's not that hard not to get banned. All you have to do is be polite. All you have to do is not try to monopolize the conversation and turn it to the direction of your monomaniacal interest. So, Cam Tees points out, Vox isn't a subsidiary, guys. It's true. I'm not. Owen and I are friendly. I like him. He likes me. We get along. That's great. But I spend exactly 0 time telling him how he should run his channel. If I don't tell Owen how he should run his channel, why are you? And worse, why would you ever try to tell me? I'm sort of well known for not taking kindly to people telling me what to do. So, John Jacob says, be polite and don't disagree with the Vox and you won't get banned. You can disagree with me. You can disagree with me all you like. I don't expect anybody to agree with me. I don't even expect people to understand me. But if you disagree with me, tell me once. Don't repeat yourself. Because if you're repeating your disagreements, then what you're trying to do is you're trying to hijack the mic. And that's not okay. That's not okay. You can disagree with me, but you cannot, take the position that you're correcting me. Okay, I don't put up with that sort of thing at all. Try another later one, go deeper into the music with the thing. Well, what I want to do is I want to figure out, before I do anything with music here, I want to find, first of all, I need to make sure that I get permission from whatever relevant copyright holder I need to get the permission from, because I don't want to get the channel in trouble for that. Devin D says, Owens banned people for nothing other than disagreeing. That's fine. I haven't. The mouse says, so naggers are people who annoy you. Yeah, I don't put up with it. I don't put up with negativity. I don't put up with blackpilling. I don't put up with despair. If that's how you feel, that's okay. That's legitimate. But I don't want it on my blog, and I don't want it on my stream. And so, the thing is that when people are trying to create problems. That guy that I banned who was saying, oh, you're going to get a copyright strike for my own song that has never been released. No, there isn't going to be anything like that. And yet he repeated it 3 times because he's attempting to sow demoralization. I do not put up with intentional demoralization. I did not see Owen's documentary called Smarter Than the Average Bear. I did see the recent Canada one, a world history reading list. Well, I've already got a list of history recommendations. If you go to the Castelia Direct store, there's literally a section called history reading, or history list. So check that out first. That's where I would start. Those are history books that I personally find useful, valuable, and enjoyable. I mean, right now, I'm absolutely loving the History of the Peninsular War by Charles Oman. I think I'm on volume 3 now. No, I'm on volume 3 now, and it's really good. So he says, I mean, he is right, though. You could, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, and also it's possible that a Concorde jet could land on Google headquarters tomorrow. All right? When somebody is pushing the possibility of bad things, they are doing that to demoralize. He's not trying to help. The gammas often try to posture as if they're helping. But what they're really trying to do is either show what a smart boy they are, or they're trying to demoralize you. In either case, I don't want them around. So let's see. Rome Invictus, is it? Says, maybe I missed it here. Oh, so you do understand perception and optics. You have to know Owen is surrounded by people who push contradictory poison. It clouds his judgment. I can't say for sure if he's a shill. For what? Owen's not a shill. That's ridiculous. And Owen isn't surrounded by people who are pushing anything. The guy is one of the least surrounded people on the internet. I mean, are you talking about his bears and stuff? They're his fans and supporters. They're not his advisors. They're not people he's surrounded by. There are people attempting to push a theme that, Owen's spiraling. He's having problems. No, he's not. He is having the normal challenges of dealing with success. When you have success, to tie this all back to the Prince documentary that I watched tonight, one of the things Prince said was that, he didn't know that fame could be so isolating. Success affects everyone negatively to a certain extent. If you notice, what's one of the first things that sufficiently famous people, what I mean by that is people who reach a level of fame that is enough for them, what's the first thing they do? They immediately try to pull back their public appearances. They immediately stop talking to the press. They stop showing up for the paparazzi and all that. At the extreme levels, they're like Princess Diana, driving rapidly through Paris trying to lose the photographers. And so, Owen has reached a level of success that he is not entirely comfortable with. And so he has to make some choices. He has to make some choices about, does he dial it back? Mike Cernovich has openly talked about the same problem. I think he said something like, I need to lose 50,000 followers or something like that. Why that would help, I don't know. But, it's just something that you have to deal with. And so, D. Hearns says, the most sane, honest, and intelligent man I've heard. I don't know if you're referring to either me or Owen, but either way, that's a generous thought. I haven't read the Horus Heresy, but I've heard so many people talk about it that I really feel like I should. Cave Bear Chris, welcome back, Cave Bear Chris. Smarter Than the Average Bear is an SJW hit piece on Owen. The narrator can't get through a scene without belittling him or his work. He is compared to Hitler, Jim Jones, and David Koresh. Oh, is this the Porensis or whatever one? The guy who... the thing is, when you reach the point that people are making documentaries about you, you're probably well into the uncomfortable level of success. And so, one step too far, InfoWars host said it best, we're watching Owen get red-pilled all at once in real time. That is true. Ethnarch, You do know who you're talking to, right? You're actually going to inform me what other books Charles Oman wrote? I have not one, but both of his Arts of War, the long one and the short one. I've also read his Wellington's Army. You left that one out. I haven't read his Byzantine Empire, but I do know about it. I have the Medieval Warfare and the Dark Ages. So anyhow, I don't know what let's see. It's actually a well-made documentary. Well, it doesn't matter how well you make something if all you tell is lies. You know, it's just ridiculous. Actually, I am interested in reading the Byzantine Empire just to compare it to John Julius Norwich's trilogy, which I love. But Norwich specifically says, and I've interviewed him before, he specifically says he's not a historian. So, have you ever studied the European, mainly Spanish conquest of America? I wouldn't say I've studied it, but I've read a few books on it. I don't have any recommendations. Do you consider yourself a celeb? No, definitely not. I mean, it's kind of funny because nobody cares about the fact that I have 100,000 page views a day on my blog, because nobody cares about writing and blogs anymore, which is kind of funny because Redo said, Vox just called porcelain a liar. No, I'm referring to the claim, the idea that he can be compared to Hitler or anyone else. I don't know whether that's true. I'm referring to somebody else's description. I haven't seen the documentary. It may be 100% true. I have absolutely no idea. So let's see here. You did, okay, Devin D, you're gone. You can tell these people that they just want to create drama. They just want to create problems. I have no interest in that. We just dealt with the situation relating to the Amazon, and there were I wouldn't say a lot, but there were certainly a number of people who were like, yeah, you should fight with Amazon. You should fight with Amazon. Like, no, we're not going to fight with Amazon. I'm not going to fight with porcelain either. I have no interest in it. Nor am I going to fight with JFG. Okay? Yeah, oh, no, you don't just want the truth. That's bullshit. Actually, you're banned for lying now. There is no way you just want the truth. You are looking to stir up internet drama. Do you think that I don't recognize that? Yeah, it's the let's you and him go fight. I have no interest in fighting with anyone except for Indiegogo right now. We're in the middle of that. What is the Vox position on QAnon? It's a useful morale booster. Would you beat Ben Shapiro in a fist fight to the death? Yes. Yeah, this is quite like the ban record now. Brian says the shills trolls who can no longer shill troll Owen's stream because of the paywall are now coming here to shill troll Vox. 30K subs can't come soon enough. Yeah, if you want to help us get to that point, subscribe. That would be good. Also, K Bear Chris said Psychosonic sounds sweet. Thanks for playing it. You're welcome. I'm glad you liked it. So, anyhow, I should get going here before my camera battery dies. But I want to mention that we have a very big announcement coming on the audiobook side probably on Tuesday. So I'm very stoked to be able to announce that to you soon. In the meantime, have a good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Let's keep the drama to a minimum, and hopefully next time I will actually get to the rest of the topic. So have a good evening. This is the Darkstream. I'm Vox Day.